Okay, here's part 4 of venting. So, I got my coffee. I was talking to you about the Larry McMurdy things. I told him he should get into them, and he's like, nope, 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 they're too wordy. I read about it. Now, let me finish up here. I know you guys are probably going to be tired and grumpy and cranky and whatever else. Um, but you know how that goes. So, here's what's, in my opinion, is I was going to say that when it comes to Aaron, he's a good guy for the most part. It's just he has his negativity for most of it. And I think it's because he is diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. His little people inside, they like to play games or whatever, screw me over at times, or play with my mind. And I'm easy to play, not manipulate, but I'm easy to not control. I mean, there's times when I've had to bail him out for management problems with the lease, but that's only because of certain things that's happened to him, supposed happened. No one knows if it's true or false. I mean, every time I want to pursue an avenue on a girl, he goes into full bore basically. If it's a Filipino, he'll take him apart. 4 days later, he'll give me a report, even on paper that he's written. I'd have to pull up the information, or he'll show it to me, send me the links. And full bore, he knows exactly what he's doing. And for scammers, for example, he's like every Filipino's a scammer. Well, the other day I was telling him and asking him about a question, and I said, I was talking about cosmetic surgery. I want to look like a cosplayer, and he says, "Can't look like this one. She's effing Chinese. Can't look like this one. She's effing Japanese." Um, So, anyways, I just asked Aaron the question about the library. That's what I was doing. But, anyways, like I said, he turns around and he says this book would be a waste of my money. Then I tell him, well, I'd like to read the ones that you read. And he's like, oh, those ones are great. You're going to love them. Like he tells me I'm going to love a movie tonight, and I'm half asleep because it's so damn slow. And then he's sitting there, like the other night, I was sitting there and he's like this. Come on, Rita. Wake up, Rita. Wake up, Rita. Wake up, Rita. Finally wake up and I go into the kitchen, baggy eyes. I go and make up a pot of coffee. And he just looks at me. You're getting so addicted to coffee. Well, excuse me, maestro. I have soda that I drink a 2 liter a week, if that. Well, you're one of those that hoards your chips when you have chips. You hoard your soda and you let it go flat. Well, it's my soda. If I had to, I'd be sipping on a jug every night. And he goes, yeah, it's because you're an alcoholic. An alcoholic. Interesting. My mother was an alcoholic. My uncles are alcoholics. So he tells me, oh, the library charges. I said, printing them out on a Word doc doesn't take much. You just print it out. And he's like, ooh. So I told him I was going to go get the package Monday if it comes, and he can go to the library. He's like, oh, it's not free. I'm going to have some money. I got a jar I'm working on right there. It's fully huge. It's like this big. It's like 3 gallons of pure glass. It's a water jug. Old 1950s or 60s water jug before they took those water jugs, the big fat plastic ones and flipped them upside down for the machines. This one was pure glass. Anyways, so now he's like, we'll see. Well, about this phone call, I asked him to do 2 weeks ago after I did his email because I was going to drive out to Yakima and get things moving. A friend and I were setting it up, and I said, well, I'm going to go to Yakima, but I was hoping to go with the girls. And Aaron's like, they're hoping. They're all talk. The other day, Aaron and I were talking about, I care for Aaron as a brother. So I said, I'm willing to take care of both girls if they come out here. One doesn't have a job, one's disabled. You know this, and on disability. He goes, yeah, you'll have to bring them out. Otherwise, they can't do it. Well, I offered to bring them out. He's like, yeah, if you could, you'd court them both. Well, no, not true. I mean, but then again, he keeps telling me, oh, well, they're not compatible with you. One sleeps 30 hours a day, you'd be taking care of the kid. And then he says, how are you going to get him pregnant? You have to do the way to do it. Otherwise, there's one other method, but it's not guaranteed it'll work. And plus, you don't know if you have sperm still. Well, last time I checked, about a year ago, I had sperm. About 18 months ago. And he's like, well, still, you shouldn't worry about that. You should only worry about what's important. And girls aren't important because, girls are girls. Well, why are you trying to do it? Well, I got more presents for the one than the other. Yeah, well, the other one, he doesn't realize. I mean, he had the same thing happen to Ange that happened to me. But then again, I don't complain about it. He says, I looked at some items that he gave ideas, and he says, oh, this is cool and that's cool. Well, I saw a replica Zelda sword, and I asked, I think it was Ange, if Heather liked Zelda that much, because a replica Zelda sword wasn't that expensive. Oh, I don't know. And Aaron's like, that's a tacky present. You don't want to give her a Zelda sword. So what happened? I get her well, I'm not telling you. Anyways, then I go through and then he tells me something. So I was like, oh, this is cool. It was like $30. I don't care about the price. But they dinged me heavily at shipping on it. So I was just like, oh, well, it got here in time. I was happy. I had to wrap it up. Okay. Wrapped it up. No problem. He goes and buys something for Heather, or Ange, that was like $40. Again, he got nailed like $30 shipping for it. And then he was like, I wonder how it's going to fit. They flattened it or whatever. Well, it wasn't damaged. It'll expand. No problem. Again, he's just like, oh, well, But then he's grumping at me. Well, my family disowned me. I only have him. I can't take it. And he knows I need a good woman to stand by me and say enough's enough. But no. He's like, well, Angela's not compatible with you because A, she wants to live with mommy and daddy, and B, she wants you to be living out of state and she has your kids with her. That's how he put it tonight. Again, when I was trying to say something, I said, well, I'm making a video to vent severely. I said, you vent on your friend from California. He's always talking about, oh, where's that problem? I can always come up there and take care of it, but then we're going to need to make it clean up the mess, which means, get rid of me. And Aaron's like, no. Well, Aaron reminds me a few times, and that kind of bothers me, but I know he wouldn't hurt me. Then I got his personalities, multiple personalities, I know when he changes, and it's like, and then he turns around and says, well, I've analyzed them both, and, one's a hermit like me. You don't like anime and manga. Well, I like Hello Kitty. I like Transformers. I like certain animes and mangas. I've never read a manga, though, but I've heard about them, and I've studied them, and he's like, well, unless you start getting into all the mangas and stuff, you're not compatible with her. And she wants to live with mommy and daddy. She wants to have your kids, and she wants to live in her state. And I said, well, fine. Well, what do you recommend? Don't have anyone. Well, what about you? Well, I could pursue them, but again, they won't come out. They're all talk. Well, what about the sister? Just out of curiosity, Well, she's not compatible with you because she's more goth, and she's a hermit, too. So basically what you're saying is you want to move in on both of them, but you're not going to move in on both of them because you're scared. Yes, and the fact I just want friendship, and I know girls want money, security, and stuff. He says, I bring in $900 a month. I can't support them. I can buy groceries for the month. I can put them up for 2 weeks by lease laws unless the manager looks the other way, unless they hide, or unless she gets a job. Otherwise, I'd have to put her on the lease, and I really don't want to put her on the lease and then have her throw me out of my own house since I've been here longer. So that's why I'm telling you, you don't need anyone living in your house either, because you might be kicked out under the release laws, and then you're homeless because a girl took over, and it's not right for you to lose your apartment just because of it. So he says, don't do it. So let me stop, and I will upload this and then continue.